We're here in Forestry Week in Incheon in Korea, a very important occasion in which there are many youth, and youth play the future role in this. Actually, starting now, it is the youth that have to make a difference. So throughout the world, and particularly where we're looking at here in terms of the impact on tropical forests, we are very concerned that there is an involvement of the youth to change the values of our society, to support rural communities, to support sustaining the forest and life in relation to the forest, because actually this is where most of our water, our food, not only our air, but everything that actually holds the world together, begins. So we are asking for much greater youth participation in environmental and social concern so that we can see the way forward. It's actually youth that will lead policy in the next 20 years. It is youth that will change the consumption dynamics of the world. It is youth that will make the difference. So we need young people to realize that as they organize and come together, they can influence the processes by which we care for the land, we care for the water, we care for all life, because it's in that diversity of life we sustain the human diversity. We cannot exist without the life around us. So in Forestry Week, on the one hand, we're dealing with policy development through government agencies and the UN and their agreement on what needs to be done. On the other hand, we are trying to look at the diversity of culture and of life. And in many countries, from India, across the Pacific, in this meeting, we have many learnings that we are sharing, many cultures that are enhancing the process, and we need the economy to work with this diversity, not with the reduction to a simplicity of product or way of life, but to a diversity and to ensure that opportunity for everyone. We are also celebrating here the SDGs, and we need all of these to integrate so that we can have and we can share a future. So thank you for engaging with the future of the planet, with your own future as a collective and a community sense of society. Thank you.
I think I should be holding this camera, because what I would love to do is to be able to interview and ask questions from the representatives from IFSA, because I think all the IFSA participants know more than me, can bring so much to my work and help me in my work and help RECOF do our work. I was speaking to the IFSA Camus from the Philippines, for example, and the ideas that he had for helping us with community forestry, learning from the Philippines and learning about his interesting and new ideas, fantastic. So as I said, I should be the one interviewing IFSA. You shouldn't be the one interviewing me. But thank you. Okay.
My name is Thomas Hofer. I'm the Senior Forestry Officer of FAO in the regional office in Bangkok, and I'm the Secretary of the Asia Pacific Forestry Commission. For me, the presence of IFSA and the youth is absolutely critical, because you are the future decision makers. So to have you in this meeting is very inspiring for me, and it's a privilege for us, because you bring the new ideas, you bring innovation into the discussion, and that's very much important for the conference, for the Asia Pacific Forestry Commission, and for the future of forests.
In governance and decision making, youth will be very critical First, the voice of youth has to be taken into account for any decision that we are making about forest and landscape. Second, the implication of the decision that we are taking today is huge for the youth because they will be the next generation. In my view, it is very critical in the policy and government processes to involve youth, not only to have their views, but also to have them in the implementation of the policies and in the monitoring of the result of the policy.
My name is Kichal Lee. I work for Korean National Arboretum. I think the plant conservation and use is the same. We want the sustainable use because the conservation is very most important, and we collect the wild seed and germination and grow and storage it, and then we will education my people and use for the commercial. It's a last object, let's go. Yeah. So we like to joint research with the Asian researchers. Yeah, it is good for we and all Asian people. Thank you.
So my name is Chip Barber. I work with the World Resources Institute. That's a global environment and development policy institute with offices all over the world, including in India and China and Indonesia. And I know IFSA well. I've talked at IFSA events for many, many years in different places. And, you know, I think that getting youth interested in these issues and being the new leaders is really important. So this is what I think of IFSA. We have to feed like 10 billion people in 2050. And you guys, I'll probably be gone. You guys will still be here. Feed 10 billion people, and we don't want to destroy the world. We have to deal with climate change. We don't want to lose biodiversity, but we need to feed people. So we need to shift the diets of what people eat, because we know beef is very bad for the environment, even compared to other meats. If people just change to pork and chicken, it would be better. Insects might be something that we could focus on. I mean, aquaculture, if we could do it right, you know, there's bad aquaculture, could find freshwater and saltwater ways to raise more fish in ways that are not destructive. That could help. A lot of plant-based alternatives are becoming very popular now, things that are like meat. You've probably seen these things. So yeah, getting a transition, and obviously affecting young people in schools is going to be really important. As people who are set in their eating habits, you know, are different. But if you grow up eating something different, you know, then you get adjusted to it. So it's going to be the next generation that will be able to change what they eat. But sort of what we eat is only one part of it. We need to increase the productivity of existing lands. We grow on existing land, right? That's really important. So instead of growing, 5 chickens on an area, we can grow 10 chickens, or crops. Growing more of the things that we eat, corn, rice, things like that. Secondly, we have all this degraded land in the world. So much degraded land, we could bring back a lot of that to be ecologically, economically productive, and we could grow things, right? So that's the second piece. But the third piece that I think is really important is how much food is lost and wasted. If you go from the farm all the way to people in their own house. I just today ordered a sandwich at a place today, and the thing was so big I could only eat like half of it. I'm throwing it away. I don't even do it. It's like, but most of the loss is not what you see. Maybe that's what you feel the most. It's really at the farm and the agricultural subsidies and the systems that in the United States we throw away huge amounts of citrus just to keep the price up, and things like that. So if there have been estimates 1/3 of the new food we need to produce by 2050 could be made up just by reducing waste in the earth. 1/3 could come from increasing production intensity on existing lands without expanding into forests or anything like that. And 1/3 could come from making degraded lands more productive. So there's probably solutions. But, people are going to have to pull together and think about that what you put in your body affects what's going on in the rest of the world. know, and so I think there are solutions, but basically people of my generation are kind of stuck in what they do, and it's kind of unfair to say to you all, the future is in the hands of the, people say this, the future is in the hands of the young people and the women, and we must turn it over to them. And one of my friends says, oh great, so you screwed it all up, and now you're saying the young people and the women are the ones that have to fix it. And yeah, we'll do our bit, but that's probably the case. That, you know, the newer generation is going to have to be the ones that, and I think you see this now if you look at diet preferences. You see an awful lot of people I know who say, you know, maybe they're not totally vegan, but you know, it's like, I'm not going to eat so much beef. I'm going to eat more, you know, plant projects and products and things like that. So I think that's all good in the right direction.
And, so Asian culture has a lot of insect eating cultures and traditions. But what about people in Europe, in other parts of the world?
Europe, I think not so much that I've seen. In Mexico, I eat a lot of grasshoppers. I lived in the Philippines before, and that's quite well eaten. There's never, I mean, there are obviously parts of the world, you know, in China and in Thailand I've eaten bugs. I lived in the Philippines a long time. I used to eat grasshoppers quite a bit. And, so I think it depends on cultural, what you grew up eating. If you think something is strange. I mean, an example would be horse meat. So there was a scandal some years ago in the IKEA store somewhere in Europe. They found out there was horse meat, and people were just absolutely freaked out. It's like horrifying. How can you eat a horse? You know, in Latin America, people have eaten horses for a long time.
Different cultures, different,
and they just have grown up with it. You know? And so I think it's a matter of introducing that culture as people grow up. If you grow up eating something, it doesn't seem weird. I mean, well, think about a lobster. I grew up in New England, in the United States. What is a lobster but a big underwater insect? If you think of it objectively, they're kind of disgusting. You know, they're like this big underwater bug. It's like this long. But it's a very, very fancy food, and people love lobster and they eat them all the time. But if lobsters lived on land, and you said, hey, would you eat one of these? You know, that's too much. It's like, you know, so that's completely, or I like oysters, for example. I like oysters. You know, even raw oysters I like. But I always think, gee, the first human being that ever ate an oyster must have been pretty hungry. You know? Instead of open it up and say, oh, I'm going to eat this. It's hard to open up. It's kind of slimy. You know, and probably they saw animals eating it. You know, because, you know, animals will eat them. But just culturally, think of an oyster or a lobster. This is not something that you'd immediately go, ooh, that looks wonderful. Let's go eat this. You know, but then the culture has grown up that, you know, oysters are expensive, lobster are expensive, they're considered a luxury food. I mean, there's no reason you couldn't do that with, you know, grasshoppers, ants. In Colombia, they eat a lot of the honey ants, which is quite nice. And
have you been to India?
I have been, but a long time ago.
Okay, so do you know the cicada festival? There is a cicada festival in a state called Meghalaya. So cicada is a small insect. It comes out every 4 years.
A cicada, yeah, we have cicadas in the US too.
So they have this festival, cicada festival, and it coincides with the football. Like football every 4 years. So people, what they do is they collect all the cicadas and then they fry it and then they eat it and then they watch football.
That's interesting. We have a 17-year cicada where I live.
17 years.
It comes out every 17 years.
Every 17 years.
So there are different populations that come out on different scales. So you have in the US, but people don't eat them yet. So we had a lot of them.
Cicada is a delicacy in the state of Meghalaya in India.
When they came out the last time, they were everywhere. There were so many, they were maybe this deep in some places, but nobody ate them. So probably it would be a good source of protein.